Welcome, everyone, and a good day. And thank you for joining today's session, which has a huge focus on building products for our internal and external customers. Discovering and building digital products continues to be an exciting journey for us at LIT, and I'm sure for you and for teams and many organizations. But the drive to build a product that will meet the customer's needs, make profit, is a complex endeavor. And businesses need to balance this with execution, with customer focus, and being able to create the right solutions that will meet the needs of our customers. I've been on this journey, and I'll be sharing some of these highlights with my good friend Elliot, who focuses on user research and design. So, welcome again, all those who are joining from different parts of the world. In our past events, we've had people join from all these parts of the world, which makes it a global event. And more than often, we like to add their names and appreciate them for joining us. Often, our large numbers are in the UK. Elliot, a good friend, will be focusing on research and design thinking. And I'll be spending some time asking Elliot some very good questions. Myself, I'm the principal consultant at Lean Icon Technology, and I lead our teams of consultants and in-house teams to build great products. Building great products is not the most easy thing, but Elon Musk said something very apt. He said, great companies are built on great products. And that is one beautiful thing, that if you're part of a company that's building great products, you feel a big part of it for your life. And when you move on, you still want to be part of that company. But Jeff Bezos also said the most important single thing is to focus obsessively on the customer. And that's one of Amazon's goal, to be the most customer-centric company. And that is what I constantly aspire. How can we build products that will meet our customers' needs? When building such solutions, they are complex, they take time, and often customers would like to take those products on board or might not take those products on board. The flip side is the team that's building the solution. And our focus today will be on the team that's helping build those solutions. When you're in a team building such a solution, this diagram might be familiar to you. You are looking at the continuous delivery pipeline, which talks about the entire cycle to building such a great product. We use our Scaled Agile framework. And in the Scaled Agile framework, we have the first phase as the continuous exploration phase. Then we move into the build phase, which is the integration, and then the continuous deployment. In the exploration phase, it fosters innovation and builds alignment on what could be built based on design thinking, teams having a strong understanding of what the vision is, creating a roadmap, creating a set of features that will address the needs of the customer. During the continuous exploration phase, new ideas are raised, refined, and prepared so that continuously, as the team reflects and focuses on the customer, they build a solution that will meet the customer's needs. And this is where you have your product manager, your product owner, the business owners thinking heavily about the product we are building. So the continuous exploration phase is always an exciting phase where we can make a go or no go decision to see if this product should be built or not. The next phase, after the continuous exploration phase, if we are happy with what we know, with the help of a UI UX, we could have done a prototype, gone to the market, checked if this product will meet the needs of the customer. If it doesn't, we can pivot. But if we move ahead because we have that inclination and believe that this product is going to yield us what we believe it would yield, a return on investment, we move to the integration phase, where the team is mobilized, they start building a product, and they think quality from the onset. During this stage, we will have agile teams that focus on how we build these functionalities, integrate these functionalities into a full system or solution, and then we want to validate this solution. What sits at the back of the mind of most product managers, product owners, and teams these days is, can we build an MVP? And the MVP should be realized in the continuous exploration phase. So when we come to the continuous integration, we are not fluffing around, moving around, trying to agree on what to build. But it's in the integration phase that our team of developers, product owners, testers focus on building a product that will meet the customer's need. The continuous deployment is where the product is moved into a production environment. And whenever the business is ready or the customer is ready, we can release the product to the customer. The continuous delivery pipeline is the entire cycle that enables the agile delivery team to build a solution to the customer. But we need to also understand it more. If you're a product owner, or if you are a scrum master, or if you're a team member, what should I be doing? What do I need to know? Our focus is, let's look at the product owner's role. As a product owner, you're thinking about your stakeholders, the key partners that are involved in enabling you build your product. You also want to make sure that as you build the product, you have an understanding of your key artifacts. So you, at the product exploration phase, you want to understand the idea. What do I use in understanding the idea? There is the epic hypothesis statement. There is the product canvas. There are other documents you can use. You also want to understand your customer. And this we can dig deeper into when looking at creating personas that meet our group of customers' needs. And our customers can be looked at from an internal and external customer perspective. As a product owner, you go through all these stages to help you formulate your understanding of the product. But what about the design researcher or the UX person? What are they doing? The focus of our conversation is to make sure that we understand the key role of the user researcher, design researcher in the continuous exploration phase, the continuous integration phase, and then the release phase when the product goes out to the customer. In the systems integration phase, we will have high-level requirements, product backlog, epic features, stories. All these particular features enable the teams to build their solution. And then when we come to building the product, the teams spend time making sure that their delivery pipeline, whether they are using Azure pipelines, whatever tools they are using to build a system, they work with the solutions architect or the enterprise architect to make sure that the systems are set up so that we build quality into the entire product. Our user experience researcher plays a key role in all these stages of delivery. They create artifacts, support the product owner, support the product manager in their understanding of backlog. Based on the views they present on the backlog, the product owner and the product manager can also prioritize and select the right features that needs to be built for that particular product. They apply design thinking. In terms of the design thinking phases that the user researcher applies, the user researcher would like to what? Understand the whole problem. And then in understanding the problem, they want to spend time with the customers, going to the customers, either conducting a survey, ethnographic study, or using tools that would enable them know if the customer would like the product. And often I get asked the question, What if we take it out and the customer doesn't like it? Then we've not done a good user research and a good understanding of the market gap of the product we want to build. And a phase of the design thinking is designing the solution, where we create a prototype, test the prototype, and check if that product is viable, feasible, and would deliver the business needs. If the product is viable, then we are in good business. If it's feasible, then our customers are going to use it. And if it's sustainable for the long term, then we know that we are on the right journey to building products that would meet the business's profit needs, and it will also meet our customers' needs. Often, as businesses, we want to be customer centric. And in being customer centric, we just take a huge focus on the customer. Why? Our customers are the ultimate beneficiaries of value that we produce. And if you build a product and you don't have customers coming for it, then you are in bad business. So understanding the customer's needs is so key to driving a product that would go to the market, have your customers coming for it, and then continuously sticking and coming back to buy your products. So understanding the customer's needs are key, and the user researcher helps us to do that. The user researcher also helps us to think and feel and focus on the customer. So, and as they do this, they always say, like from the user research teams I've worked with, they say, no, it's not only us that should think about the customer. All of us should understand why we are here, why our customers will be here for the short term and the long term, and why we build for our customers. So the user researcher encourages the entire team to focus on building for the customer. And I know Elliot will be delving deeper into such items to help us understand why we need the user researcher, and why the user researcher will continue to help us build products that meet the needs of our customers. Finally, we want to create our customers a lifetime value. If you can create a lifetime value for your customers, then you know for a long time you'll be having your customers buying your product. If your customers stop buying your products or stop doing businesses with you, then you know you are doing something wrong, and you have to continuously go back to the table. And dealing with user researchers, the single most important thing is user research is not a one-time event. It's an iterative event. It's a continuous event. It's something we do often, every time, to understand the customer. We get feedback from our customers, and based on the feedback, we are able to use the feedback. So I would like us to have that conversation with Elliot. Elliot is an experienced product designer and certified safe product owner, product manager, and he applies design thinking in working with teams and focuses on the user and listens to the user, takes the team's feedback, listens to the customer, and merges those, brings that synergy to enable the teams build user and business value. So, Elliot, thank you so much for joining us, and we would like to just have that discussion. Elliot, just tell us a bit about your role as a user researcher.
All right, William, thank you. I think first we need to start by looking at what user experience design is. So user experience design is a big umbrella of several related activities that we perform, all focusing on designing an experience that helps people achieve a particular goal on a solution we are building. My role as a user experience researcher is assigned to a responsibility of bringing the entire team together to achieve a common goal of providing value to the user, while we also achieve some business goals. So how do user experience designers bring together the team? As the user experience designer on the team, I help validate the notions and the hypothesis of what needs to be developed by conducting user research with actual users who experience the problems we are trying to solve. So we have stakeholders who will come up with ideas of what they feel the system should be like. But these ideas can all be just assumptions. Like they assuming that, okay, the system we are building, users are willing to pay for it, or users have XYZ problem, and the solution will be able to solve it. These are all assumptions. So not
Mm.
until the user experience researcher conducts a user research with actual users, we can't validate that these are enough for us to move on with. In doing so, the user experience researcher is able to save the organization in a way that the company does not go into investing so much into a product that won't give value to the user.
Great stuff. And I like those last words you just shared. The company going down the road, spending thousands and thousands of pounds and dollars and not getting the benefit out of it. That's very painful, but it's a headache for most executives on are we going to build the right product? So, how does user research enable the team to think during the continuous exploration phase, not to go down that lane of building a product that will not meet the business's needs? Can you tell us about how the user research could help the team during the continuous exploration phase?
Sure, William. To me, as a UX researcher, continuous exploration is where I am constantly and continuously exploring the user needs and markets to help the team define a vision, what we want to achieve. And in order to achieve this vision, the same continuous exploration helps us come up with roadmaps,
Mm.
roadmaps that serve as a guide, a roadmap that serves as our North Star that we follow to get to the destination we set out in our vision that we want to get to. In doing so, we need to come up with features, concrete features based on the research that we've conducted to address the problems we are trying to solve with our products. During this process, I, the user experience designer, together with the product owner, will meet with stakeholders, try to get the business understanding of what the solution is trying to provide, what value it wants to provide to its users, and know what value we are trying to, the objective we are trying to achieve as a business as well. So that is how UX fits into the continuous exploration process.
Thanks. Yeah, you mentioned something. You talk about teams. It looks like the user researcher is not a one-man mercenary who does everything, and you involve the agile team in the entire process. So tell me more. Why is continuous exploration so important to the agile team from a UX perspective? Why should the team bother? Because some teams just want to pick just give us your idea, give me the requirement, let me go and build the product. Why is it so important to the agile team? Can you tell us more on that?
William, the importance of continuous exploration is so key to the success of any agile team. It's something we cannot undermine due to even how often the market changes, how easily the software industry get disrupted. So we need to have continuous exploration as part of our team. Let's not also forget the continuous exploration process is the only stage that we get both the stakeholders and the entire team aligned on what hypothesis we should evaluate and build. The other one is how viable the idea is as a profit enterprise. How do we make profit from it? I'm not sure we will just want to invest $1 million into an app and not interested in making any money. So even if users don't use it, we are cool, we move on. But another thing we can look at is how we can sustain the system, sustainability. Are we proactively managing our solution to account for its expected products? So maybe if the market we are targeting is now expanding, can we sustain the product to match the growth of the market? These are some 4 key areas we can look at if we want to know if the ideas we want to push out will be successful or not.
Thank you so much, Kobe. Let me, well, I'll go for your second question. Go for it, sir.
Yes, William. Thanks. What role does data play in the user research work?
Thank you. I think data is so important when it comes to the role of a UX designer. Okay, so basically that's even one of the main reasons why we conduct the user research, is to get data on the user, is to understand. It's the data that gives us that inform our decision making. Is the data that says, okay, based on A, B, C, D, we can add this feature to our software, and this feature will give this value to the users, because the data is showing that, okay, the data is showing us that based on the research we have conducted, customer A, B, C said this is a pain point for them. And if we are able to solve that pain point, that means we are delivering value to these customers that we have identified.
Now, thanks very much, Kobe, for that. Based on the data that you use, you're able to do a mock-up to see like a user journey, what it would look like. How do you verify that?
It's just user research I used to verify that what I've mapped out now possibly is in the right direction.
Satisfy user experience. Because it's one thing to map it out and think, okay, this should serve the purpose, but how do you validate that or verify that before it goes into production? Experience. Because it's one thing to map it out and think, okay, this should serve the purpose, but how do you
before you
validate
be able to come up with a user journey map? First, we need to draw empathy maps. We need to first understand what tasks the user wants to achieve on the system. It's not just after gathering data through user research, we go straight into mapping out the journey. The customer journey is to give us an overall overview of what journey the user will take to complete a particular task on the system. So if we are able to come up with the pain points that we are trying to solve for the user, that's when we start the customer journey mapping to be able to see where there are roadblocks on the journey for the customer to accomplish a particular user task on the system. So based on this, we can use user stories. We can use user stories to say, okay, based on these user stories, we are coming to map the journey the user will have to accomplish, will have to take to accomplish their goal. We can also use story mapping, which is more big. Let's say it's a feature we are working on. So we can use story mapping to map out how the story, each story will come together to complete the feature we are working on.
And from thanks, Kobe. And from our internal data expert, he says data helps understand the target users and reveals information about the user's pain points. It supports a data-driven design and assures team that their work is on track. And that will be an iterative process with an agile mindset continuously. Thanks, UM. Any additional questions?
Anyone has got a burning question to ask?
Yeah, I got a question.
Ask your question.
Okay, now, I mean, this is a very pretty straightforward question. Kobe, thanks for the answer so far. So what tools do you use now, and what outputs do you give as a user researcher?
I think there are thousands and one tools out there that a user researcher can use so to accomplish whatever goal they want. If it's about conducting the user interview or
exactly. What tools do you use in your work, as a user researcher? So you could categorize the tools, say maybe in gathering data, I use these tools, either qualitative data or quantitative data, I use service or something like that. Then the outputs also, you could give me some broad categories, something along the lines of what we'll say, you don't need to go into the granularity, just something high level. Yeah.
Okay. I think when it comes to tools, if user research, I prefer using pen and paper in taking notes, or sometimes if the user agrees, we do recording, then we can later on play these recordings and actually make real notes from it, because sometimes there are some codes that you may not be able to get them. Then after that, for where I will assemble all this data to inform my decision making, we like using mirror bots to gather the data and build an affinity map to help us understand the whole problem we are trying to solve. Then from there, we'll be able to sort the response or the data we've gathered into groupings and follow up with coming up with what features we use to, what features we should include. Sometimes too, I use keynotes, that's like typing using the computer, which sometimes is difficult because you listening to what the person is saying and typing at the same time can make you miss out on some important information.
Okay, thanks for that. And what outputs now? The outputs as a user researcher, what are the
outputs?
Yeah,
the output
your
is
deliverables
coming
now.
up with yes. So the output is usually coming up with the empathy map and user personas and user stories as well. So from there, we are able to draw an empathy map, which helps us understand what the user says, think, and does, and show. We also come up with journey maps to explain the journeys the user takes to accomplish a particular task.
Just to give you something else that you might want to add to your tool, there a lot of this software is coming out now. One of it is called Capwing, very powerful. I use it as well. Actually, it has the voice to text accuracy up to about 90% that you can use. So if you were to have a recording, instead of going through the manual process of having to transcribe it, you just use that and it automatically generates the text for you, and then you just do minimal editing with it, and then you can now use that. And it saves a lot of time. And I don't work for Capwing, by the way, so it does a lot of, it can help you a lot there. Just something to, yeah.
Great stuff. Thank you. Okay. Gabriel is going to answer. Go for it, Gabriel.
Yeah, so I wanted to ask this question. Is it the duty of the user researcher to know what technologies can help or facilitate achieving a particular task maybe a user wants to perform on a product?
Yeah, bro. Sometimes it's not solely the duty of the user experience researcher to understand the technology that goes into it. But I think having an understanding, at least an overview of what needs to be done. Remember, sometimes your some features you suggest may not be so easy for the tech team to implement because of the architecture, because of how they go about things already. Though they can readjust it to meet that user need if that becomes very important. I think having that understanding is just helping the team to properly communicate with the developers or the tech teams. That's it.
Kobe, what would the team miss if they had no user researcher? What would be some of the things? Would they be going in the dark alley? Or let's just say, have you joined a team that didn't have a user researcher? And what are some of the things they were doing wrong?
Okay, let me share a personal experience. I think I've worked with a team that initially we didn't take the user research very seriously. One of the things I noticed was that after we completed a feature, the team went back into a meeting and we started asking a question: what do we build next? What do we do? And we got stuck for almost close to a month. We don't know where we are going. And if we can remember, during the when I was talking about the continuous exploration stage, I was talking about some of the artifacts that at the end of the exploration stage we are able to come up with. One of them being a feature backlog and roadmap and the vision. So if we miss out on having a user experience designer or researcher who helps the team to conduct this research at the beginning, we won't be able to know where we want to be. We won't be able to know what features we should build, and we won't be able to even know if we are on track or on the right path achieving these particular goals. Yes.
Carlos is asked a very interesting. Okay, before I take Shike's question, Carlos says, how do you incorporate user feedback into your designs?
Thanks, Carlos. I think user feedback are so important to us continuously exploring and understanding if what we are building is delivering some value to the user. So I think this is where we don't jump into designing upfront. We need to go back and forth with our usability testing, because going back to edit a fully finished markup is more difficult than going back to make a change to a wireframe due to a user feedback gathered. So basically what we do is we take the feedback, come back and try to understand, is this something that will provide value to a larger group, where we send questionnaires out to be able to gather quick feedback to validate, okay, this is what this one user said. Now we've conduct a survey, and this is what majority of these people are saying. Is that something we want to do? Does it give us some, does it give some value to the user as well? If we all agree that it does, then we have to work on it.
Thank you so much, Kobe. Shike,
Hi,
good to hear your voice.
Yeah, hi. I've just got a question. I've come across job roles with a BA with UX UI experience desirable, and I was just wondering, because having worked with some UI UX guys and seeing what they do and the collaboration, just wanted to find what level of understanding is expected as a BA when it comes to you, for example, applying for a job and they're saying, oh, UI UX experience required or desirable. What level or what's the expectation?
This is an interesting question, and I'll help Kobe with it. And I'll say, for organizations who want two for the price of one, the risk going down the lane where they don't get the best benefits of these roles. Okay, if you're a BA and you've got a past experience as a UI UX, it's beautiful. You're able to incorporate it into the whole process. But the time spent in conducting your role as a UI UX is so needed that you don't want to conflict it with also being a BA who wants to be able to meet with your stakeholders, refine your requirements, make sure your requirements are ready, and the team can build those requirements. What then would happen often is, as a BA, you might be either focused on one role over the other, but having it as a background is really good. But to what level? I'll say if you've worked as a UI UX, dedicated time as a UI UX with that background, if you've done a role a year or 2 or 3, that can really help you to also add your BA experience to it. But I would say it looks like 2 for the price of 1, and organizations might not get the benefit they want from that particular role.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Just trying to kind of understand the link between like BA roles, because like I said, where I've worked with the UX guys were with what you said, looking for 2 for 1. It looks like that's the case where you've kind of you've had to wear so many hats, and I think that's probably the reason why that is kind of interlinked. But I was just kind of curious because, like I said, working with them, I'm trying to understand as a BA, what do you, at what level or what knowledge do you need to know to be able to sell? Yeah, that's fine. Thanks for clarifying.
Add to that,
just crossed my mind. I was just trying to kind of understand the link here.
A lot of the tools used by UI UX folks are used by BAs. BAs help create personas. BAs can help in creating customer journeys. BAs can help in refining those customer journeys. But the input into creating the personas, the time spent into understanding the persona, the research work that has to be done, takes a lot of time to do that particular aspect of work. So if you're not dedicated to the role, you might find it conflicting working on user stories and dedicating time for that research work. Elliot, anything to add to it? Go ahead.
I think based on what Shika's just said and what Kobe said a lot earlier, I think the biggest challenge is that most organizations have not really provided budget for user researchers, okay? And that's because they don't see the value yet.
Yeah.
And that's why they want this two for one. They want somebody who can do the 2 jobs and stuff. And to be honest with you, in doing that, they actually don't get value for it. Because I've seen in where I work right now, where a dev guy actually did a mock-up for the stakeholders and brought it because we don't have a user research person. It's just, okay, we need to see a mock-up of what we want to build. Let's see it first. The guy's probably got a bit of experience in that area. He did it, brought it, and they were bombarding him with questions left, right, center. He was struggling to answer some questions. Okay, we need this functionality showing here. But if we had someone totally dedicated to that, I'm sure the output would have been a lot more secure, would have been a lot more, more purposeful. Yeah, so it just supports what Kobe said earlier on.
Fantastic, Uwem. Thanks for adding that. I totally agree with you, Uwem. I totally agree. Kojo, let's go with you.
Yeah, just to add to what Uwem said, I was doing the same thing for my organization, and it doesn't work. You don't become effective. And what tends to happen is in the long run, everyone is going to end up blaming you I remember some of my mock-ups just became so bad. And eventually I had to ask for a BA, which allows me to be able to focus on having to do all the UX stuff. And I mean, spending time with your end users, that's so exhausting that if you don't do it properly, then you won't be able to also know what their pain points are. So I think if you're going in and you're seeing a job spec like that, try and get an understanding really what they want you to be doing.
Depend on what you are trying to achieve. Okay, if it's the final markup for the design, then I can say it's necessary based on the UI components that you already have. But if it's not the final thing ready for developers to work on, then I don't think it's so necessary, because that will go under several iterations for before making the final decision to say, okay, this is what we want to go on with. So if I will have to go and spend time, hours working to make the thing beautiful, let me say, then I'll go and do usability test and come back, and coming back to change all these things. That would be so frustrating. So it depends on what stage in the designing process you are in, then you can make that decision on which one to use.
Folks, thanks so much for today. And our key takeaway is job product delivery is grounded on customer centricity. Design thinking is a big part of our solution delivery to get feasible and viable solutions, developing on case to help manage variability, because we building iterations with feedback from our customers. That's going to enable us build products that meet our customers' needs. Overall, I want to say a big, big thank you. And please do leave your comments. We'll be coming out to everyone who's been quiet. Thank you. Your silence brought in more questions, and your voices also added to the conversation. And we would like to see you at our next event. Thank you, Elliot. Thank you, everyone, for joining, and see you at our next event.